Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and an overview of the market and my, I suppose, expectation of what I think is going to happen, how I'm going to play this out for the moment. So we look at all kinds of altcoins on the live streams that we did. So we did one last night. We do them Tuesdays and Fridays, mostly 2 hours long a piece. If you want to be part of that, Patreon, it's £7.50 a month, and you get basically 16 hours worth of live streams, and we just go through many altcoin setups, what's good, what's bad, and what basically is in between. So for the moment, we're going to look at just the two main players, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Bitcoin, as of yesterday, I was saying that it's got a lot of top heaviness going on because of the weight of the Dixie. The Dixie in this uptrend basically continue with an uptrend. We had a pullback over the last few days. That was to be expected when we reached the top of this pitchfork. We haven't broken down significantly. We probably will break down, I reckon, to the center of this pitchfork, but it's still an uptrend, and it's a confirmed uptrend with a lot of other indicators involved in this. So I'm not looking for this to break down unless something significant happens in America, American politics, and the Federal Reserve monetary policy. So at the moment, the chart is good for a continuation all the way up to as early as May before a breakdown, maybe as late as July, August. So that said, that does make me a little more skeptical of Bitcoin having any significant gains, like extremely large ones. But if there were to be a large one above areas of $68,000, I would probably think about taking a lot of profit out of the market at that point and just checking and waiting and see what happens. The reason I say that is not because the weekly doesn't look unhealthy. It does. It looks really healthy. It looks good. But we do have here bearish divergence taking place. It's been going on for a long time now, but really started to take on a new form when we started to have these 30% corrections. And because of that, it makes me a bit wary that there will be a deeper correction at some point soon. Maybe bring this down to the center of the Bollinger Band. The 20 moving average basically could be tagged. It might be the 21 exponential, but there's not a great deal between them. So we could be talking about a deeper correction to 40,000 or 38,000 if it would happen immediately. These are obviously moving up each week, and like I say, I mean, I'm pretty confident that we will have a deeper correction at some point this year. And where most appropriate to have it? Well, I would probably argue that an overextension at this point, we would likely see that correction. So if we did get a correction of that size right now, it wouldn't be too bad. It's just over 30%. So we've seen worse things than that in the past. Yeah, 35% to the center of the Bollinger Band. That's no big deal at all. We've seen things like that in the past. We've been through worse than that recently, so I'm not overly concerned about that. The thing is, it's 35% from here. If we were to move up to 68,000, 60, 70,000 into the 70,000s, then obviously that is a deeper correction. Let's just say we made it just roughly here, just above the Bollinger Band. That would at that point be a 45% retracement if we managed to do that. So I am getting a little wary, just a little overcautious. But for the moment, you make hay while the sun shines, and the sun's shining right now, especially for altcoins. So that's Bitcoin, and everything's looking good for a new all-time high quite soon, so long as we don't go crazy and have a massive overextension to play out that weekly bearish divergence, where we could quite easily be reunited with the center of the Bollinger Band. But again, even if that happens, it's not the end of the world. As long as we stay above it, everything will be fine. So we'll turn our attention to Ethereum. Made a new all-time high last night. Kind of expected that to happen, I have to say, but I think it's kind of had its day for the moment. Now the Bitcoin to Ethereum pairing is the one that I've paired up one of my long-term bots with. It's about 0.3 Bitcoin I put into that bot, and that's a long-term bot. So it's essentially like hodling Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm pretty confident that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin consistently throughout the year, with big peaks and troughs within its chart. So I set that up when it was at its resistance. Sorry, set it up as its support, and I'm just going to let that run for the rest of the year. Even if we do have a 30, 40, 50, 60% retracement, I'll leave it on because my targets for both of these coins are going to be 2 or 3x from here at least. So it's just going to allow me to generate more bot profit. So in a nutshell, we've got a decent looking chart for the moment on Ethereum. I'm quite happy with the way that it's going, but I think it's going to reach a peak for the day as it stands at the moment. My overall target would be towards the top of this weekly Bollinger Band. And again, this is very much like Bitcoin, not quite as severe. When we see the bearish divergence, it's different. It's not quite the same. So it's not as obvious. So this one could run higher, and I wouldn't have too much of an issue with it. we look to the Bitcoin dominance, what we see is we've broken down below 60, which is what we've been waiting for all this time. And we are coming down to this lower zone here where we have found support in the past. So if we break down a little further, or if we bounce from here, or if Bitcoin rallies and alts start to feel it, then we could easily see Bitcoin dominance increase. So long as we get rejected at 60% dominance, or if there's a dump across the board, which I think that there could easily be a dump at some point today or tomorrow, just a liquidity grab dump. The open interest is really high at the moment. The longs are at an all-time high. People are asking to be liquidated, and that's probably what will happen at some point over the next 24 to 48 hours, in my opinion. So long as we stay below 60 when the dominance increases, it's all in altcoins for me. It's getting all back in altcoins, and the altcoins at the moment that were the strongest, the strongest setups are the ones with the largest market caps. We went through this again on the live stream last night, but it became clear that pretty much anything in the top 10, 20 seems to have a very similar setup on the weekly, which is a long-term continuation Ichimoku conversion baseline cross, basically saying I am going to continue with this move over a longer period of time. So they're the ones that I would be most interested in picking up, rather than the smaller mid-cap, lower cap coins, which obviously can move massively anyway, but the ones with the best setups are things like EOS, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV. There's, you name it, Chainlink. They all kind of had a very similar setup, which is basically asking to be bought. Neo was a good one that we saw as well. But again, this is what we look at on the Patreon. We just go through all these charts and work out, what's good. But there was a very clear pattern, which is about 5 weeks ago. All of these coins, all these top cap coins, seem to have a very similar setup. And when they all have a similar setup, they all move together. XRP was one as well. If they all move together, then it creates a domino effect for the Bitcoin dominance. And if the large caps move together, they will have a large impact on this dominance chart. And if this starts to break down, then it'll be good for all the altcoins. But until it happens, which, like I say, it was on a weekly chart, so we don't expect things to happen immediately. They will take place on a longer term time frame. But those signals are usually very reliable to go by on a long term progression. So I like the way that they all basically said the same thing. Even though the charts are all different, they all had more or less the same buy signal on a weekly. Pretty happy with that, and I would be happy to buy into altcoins after every dip, and the top caps are the ones that I would be buying into. Not because I'm expecting the biggest moves, but because they have buy signals on weeklies. So it doesn't mean that I'll make a 10x like the sort of things we're used to doing on this channel. Might only make a 2x, but a 2x is better than a no x or a minus X. So that's my strategy, that's my plan. But again, I would be over. I would kind of get a bit more concerned if Bitcoin rallies beyond $68,000, pretty overextended at that point and asking for trouble and probably looking for a deeper correction. Not going to say it wouldn't happen. It could continue right up into the 70,000s, right up into the higher 70,000s. It could happen. But for me, I like to play things carefully, and it's all about risk management, and I will manage my risk appropriately if we start to get overextended on the weekly with Bitcoin. Anyway, that was just the brief overview. And again, join the Patreon for more in-depth looks at smaller altcoins. Other than that, I hope you have a nice weekend, and take it easy.